Hello everybody, welcome back to Four Lights Wellness. My name is Omid. In this video, if you have ever blamed your parents for the state of your life, this one's for you. Just like it's for me, because I still struggle with this stuff. It's better than it used to be because I learned all of this. The most important thing I gotta tell you guys is this goes from the bottom up. 0 to 7 years of age is where we first start to learn how the world works, period. And the biggest thing that we've got to figure out is, hey, what's safe versus what's something that I can be afraid of? So, if there's something you're afraid of and you don't resolve that in this age range, it's going to be something you're still afraid of here, and it's going to cause a lot of fear at this level and at this level. The second thing we got to learn in ages 8 to 14 is who we are actually as an individual, something called individuation. And if we don't learn that, or if we're told that we're bad for something that we did or how we are, we start to learn how to be guilty about things and then eventually shameful about stuff. And same thing, if we carry shame into our drive phase of things, somewhere around our rebellious teenager phases, we're still going to have a lot of problems. So, how do issues at these different stages happen? What is the thing that actually causes a lot of this stuff, and what specifically are you spinning your wheels trying to figure out? Well, here's how this works. In this category, I've got the word wound here, and this could be a psychological word, a wound, a cyclical word, a spiritual wound, or it could literally just be an actual injury, something bad enough to the body that it grounds the body into that stage with actual scar tissue. It kind of keeps us there physiologically as well. But really at this bottom stage, this 0 to 7, it's anything that makes you feel unsafe at a strong enough level. Right? All of a sudden parents start shouting at each other, have a big fight, and then divorce. And it's like, as a kid, you don't really know what the hell is going on. It's like, am I okay? And there's a phrase that I like to tell people is, it's better at the mind of the child to be the devil in God's just world than to be a just God in the world of the devil. If the world is chaotic and unreliable at 0 to 7 years of age, you're screwed. So it's easier to make yourself the problem. And when this type of stuff happens, you'll start blaming yourself for everything in the rest of your life. It leads a lot to the victim archetype as well. Loss of a family member, right? Somebody dies in the 0 to 7 age range, you don't really know what death is, and it's just constantly spiraling through. And if you don't have conscious parents or some family member or a wise elder in your life to start helping to explain what death actually is, that we're just leaving the body behind and going somewhere else for a while, that we can still talk to those people whenever we want to just by opening up our heart, even though you don't necessarily understand that fully at 0 to 7, it gives you some peace. At the very least, there's a lot of religions out there that can kind of say, hey, there is an afterlife, and it can give some justifiable relief to somebody around that age. It can cause a whole bunch of other problems, but that's a topic for a separate video. Poverty is a big one. If there's not a lot of money in your childhood, at least just enough to keep you above the poverty line, there's this constant underlying level of fear and anxiety that is being exhibited by everybody else around you. And again, at that age, you don't really know what's going on. You just know that everybody's afraid and stressed out, and you start to internalize that yourself into a whole bunch of fear in your life. The last one I'm going to put is hunger. Hunger is one of those big drives in life that if it's not being met, the whole system starts to go haywire. All of the cells of the entire body start to freak the heck out and starts to create this low-level jitteriness, and eventually it starts to plummet the energy levels to the point where the development actually gets stunted. I'm going to get to the fixing part of this later, but I want to go after this next level through here. At this age, we've basically figured out how the world works. We've figured out how to move our bodies decently well. We're out of the full toddler phase of things. So we're starting to get onto our own 2 feet and figuring out who we are, what we like. If we don't do that well, we start to carry a lot of guilt and shame with us. So at this level, it's really anything that causes a loss of identity. Let's say, for example, you're 8 years old and you just painted the most amazing thing in the world at school, and you bring it home and you're like, Mommy, Daddy, look what I painted. And they're like, oh, that's the work of the devil. Or, wow, why did you paint that person bleeding? There must be something wrong with this kid. Uh-oh, that's a big individuation problem that starts to hit. And then all of a sudden that kid starts to think there's something wrong with them. And now every expression of themselves is open to criticism and judgment, and they will start to tailor their masks and what they say to people, worried that they're going to have that kind of backlash. Relentless criticism, same thing, is, let's say, for example, I'm at school every day and I'm constantly getting told, oh, you're doing a horrible job on this, you need a lot more work on that. Your parents are constantly saying you put the dishes away wrong. Grandparents are saying, what's wrong with you in dressing that way? A lot of these things start to cause us to go into this shame spiral. There must be something wrong with me that none of these people are liking me. They're taking away my safety and love. So I will start to modify who I am as a person to try and get all this love back. It's still too early for us to fully rebel and go off on our own, right? Anybody that's tried to run away at the age of 8, it ain't gonna work too well. You're not gonna be alive for much longer. And finally, the lack of creativity. This is the age range that we are starting to figure out, just by throwing spaghetti against the wall, what's gonna stick and make us happy. So if we don't have the freedom to actually create over and over to figure out, hey, I like that I painted this thing, I don't like that I painted that thing, I'm gonna do more of this and less of that. We've gotta have that freedom to create. Otherwise, we're gonna get stuck in somebody else's vision of who we are and what we want out of life. Now, then we get up into the 15 to 21. This is the stage that most people are in their perfect teenage years, their puberty years. They are rebelling against mom and dad hard. And if we start doing this right, we can actually create the drive that we need to do what we want in life. But if not, well, we get disabled. We can't necessarily go and do what we want in life. We end up cowering into ourselves. That's that kind of rounded forward posture where we're protecting our inner selves. Controlling parents is a big one here. At this age, kids really should actually be rebelling. If you were put in jail or juvenile hall or something like that around 18, 19 years old, kudos to you. You actually did something that was against the status quo, and that's that child coming out of you trying to rebel against all of the controlling factors in your life. That's actually a good thing. But controlling parents really can stifle that fire that's coming up inside of you. Pornography is a huge one. You need to be a certain way for people to be pleased in you, so your fire will start to get redirected in other ways that are not necessarily dream affirmative for you, and you're going to start to create almost this lack of fire. You burn it so hot so fast that all of a sudden it completely stifles out. Now we've got 21-year-olds on erectile dysfunction medication. It's a huge problem. Social media and the news. How often do you go on social media or watch the news and you come away feeling empowered? I'm going to go kick the world's ass. That's not the news I'm watching. It's not the social media that I consume. The idea that, oh my God, there's something wrong with everybody out there, and the second somebody tries to do anything, regardless of what it is, they get attacked and blamed for everything. It starts to create this mind virus inside of ourselves that says, oh, I better not do that thing, otherwise people are going to jump on me and blame me for a lot of things. Lastly, the education system here. We have an education system, this is a much bigger topic than this video is going to cover, but that says you need to do things a specific way to go get a good job, to go get a good spouse, to go do all of the things that people have told you to do. And the challenge is a lot of people don't fit that mold, right? You are a unique individual that has your own drives to go do specific things. As long as they don't hurt other people, you should have the freedom to do that in your own way as well. At this age, most people were starting to be separated out, not by people controlling them, but by people saying, hey, that kid is way more into building than they are into hunting, right? Let's go give them some apprenticeships as far as, masonry and smithing and that kind of stuff, carpentry, whatever the thing is going to be. So if you find yourself wounded at any one of these stages, again, if it's at the bottom stage, you got to go after that bottom stage first, even if you've been wounded in all three multiple times. You got to go after them in order going through this. But let's talk about how to actually heal this stuff. If the safety stage was screwed up for you some way, the challenge again was that there was part of your inner child that could not figure out how the hell the world works, and it got scared, really scared. So, as an adult, what you got to realize is the 4 walls. You got food, you got clothing, you got shelter, and you got warmth. If you have those 4 things, you're safe. Period. You're safe. It's okay. Things could be much worse, but they are not. You have to use that rational mind to parent that child to say, hey, I understand you're freaking out about things right now, and there's things that I'm going to take care of as the adult, but we are safe. And to the mind of that child that's still inside of you, it will listen. It'll start to calm down a little bit. It won't be fully okay because there's still issues going on, right? How are your finances doing, for example? They're not perfect. But as long as you have a roof over your head, you're going to be okay. Grounding and nature stuff is amazing in this. Even if you can't actually get out into nature or get your bare feet into the ground, a grounding mat off of Amazon is going to be a great thing to just put your feet on to discharge all of that anxious energy out of your body through your legs. It really does help when the fin is hitting the shan, right? You got to find your tribe. This safety thing, right? Kids, when they come out of the womb, they literally can't do anything. So if there's not people around them to help take care of them and feed them and clothe them and keep them safe, they're screwed. So having yourself surrounded by people that care about you, even if it's something as silly as a bowling league or getting out into a men's or a women's group, or heck, sometimes even a religion can actually be helpful to this because you feel the tribe around you filling you with love. Go to a meditation circle or a drum circle to feel that energy, and it's so powerfully healing for that inner child. Mineralization is a huge thing here. A lot of the bone development structurally is actually developed in these first 7 years of life. So if you're mineral depleted because you're drinking either way too much water or not having enough minerals in your diet, focusing on minerals here really can help to ground and nourish that system of structure to your body to give you something to stand on. And lastly, if you actually remember the trauma that happened, for example, when I was about 4 years old, 5 years old, something like that, I had a near drowning experience. I didn't realize it was causing that big of an issue for a long time, but when I went back and revisited that memory, I came into contact with that inner child, and it really was a lot of people around me saying, "Oh, it's no big deal, kid, brush it off. Keep walking." Obviously, it was a bunch of men. But I went into that memory and I gave that kid the biggest hug in the world, and I said, "You are okay. You're 40 now. You got plenty of clients. You got a roof over your head. You got a wife that loves you. You got a kid that adores you. You are okay." And it was just like my soul needed that hug that I didn't get at that moment, and the trauma cleared. So as silly as it sounds, find that age, that 0 to 7, that moment that happened, and go in there and give it what you didn't get because you're the adult now. You've got to do it for yourself. The next stage up is 8 to 14. This is pre-teen. There's a lot of interesting things happening in the body, but most importantly, the thing you got to understand is, who do you choose to be, not who you are. That's a trap that a lot of people get stuck into. You are not one static thing. That's not it. You get to choose who you are on a daily basis, heck, an hourly basis. If you just flip somebody off in traffic, you can send the next person a nice smile, right? You can choose those things based on you and what you want to be and how you present yourself to the world. You've got to catch that inner critic, right? Obviously, we all have it. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not, tall enough. You don't have a big enough whatever, like all these things. You've got to name it, blame it, and tame it. You hear it, you call it. You're my inner critic. You're going to name it the inner critic, whatever the thing you want to name it is. You're going to blame it. Inner critic, you are causing disruptions to my life that are keeping me in the dream negative, stopping me from going to my goals and expressing who I am to the world. You're going to tame it. You're going to say, next time you want to come up with this, you need to talk to me a little bit of a nicer way. You need to figure out a way to say what you're trying to do without attacking me. And then pretty soon, that starts to become how you treat other people instead of criticizing them. Hydration is a huge, huge, huge thing here. If you are dehydrated at all, and that could be from a lack of minerals, by the way, this part of your body is really going to start kind of getting brittle, and it doesn't allow you to actually fully solidify who you are. Imagine, for example, if this is earth minerals and it's super, super, super dry, there's going to be cracks in the foundation. But if you give a little bit of hydration, it kind of turns into a clay. Now, you don't want to do too much and turn it into a mudslide or anything like that, but just half your body weight in ounces of water, it really will calm down a lot of these things. Lastly, if you can remember the trauma that happened in this 8 to 14 range, unbound creativity, play, art, painting, dancing, whatever the thing, music is going to be amazing here. Giving yourself as the adult now an hour 3 to 4 times a week to just say, you know what, kid, 8 to 14, this is your hour to do whatever the flip you want. And you'd be surprised. When I started trying to do this, and I've seen this from other people, they get a piece of paper and some crayons and they sit there for like 20 minutes and they're just crying. They're like, I don't know what to draw. How do I do this? What should I draw? Where's the instructions sheet from this? Unbound play and processing through that stuff, especially if you remember that trauma, paint it, draw it, sing it, write a story about it, do something to move that energy through your body. We're 15 to 21. This is all about finally getting some competency in your life, aiming towards mastery of something. And if you have issues here, you're constantly going to be making excuses. Oh, it's not my fault that I'm not getting X done. It's because my parents did this thing, or my teachers did this thing, or the priest did this thing, whatever the thing is going to be. You have to start putting your best foot forward to actually create some competency around things. Whether you need to take a class, whether you need to read a book, whether you need to ask some advice, tell some people in your life that you need some help for once, really starting to build that up. Because once you start to build up that competency, if you've seen any of my other videos on the brain needs proof, not promises, once you have that competency, the proof is there, and the anxiety of things starts to go away, and you start to heal that inner wound. Breathing is a huge thing here. If you're having trouble in this rebellion phase and you're not able to punch through a brick wall or go, battle mom and dad or fight the power or whatever the thing is going to be the analogy there, what's going to happen? Everybody knows how to do this. If I said get into a depressed, disabled state, everybody goes, just try and breathe like that. You're not going to get very far. Breathing the air that you draw in is the metabolic fuel for the fire in this area of the body to actually get you to drive forward. You see that, 1,000-pound gorilla, the alpha, they are open, they're breathing huge in through their chest. So make sure you're working on your breathing. Strength training. It's really hard to be afraid when you're strong. It's just really hard to be afraid when you're strong. Now, strength is relative. You don't want to go totally down the machismo or the Amazon route of things to try and make yourself the biggest, most powerful person in the world. But having some base strength really does structurally put you in a state where if anybody tries to knock you over, they ain't going to do it. You got to get some base level of strength in there. Otherwise, your body's going to feel the weakness and your brain's going to feel that too. Lastly on this, if you, again, remember the trauma that happened, you have to encourage that child to move forward. And again, I do say teenagers are still children. I'm 40. I got enough gray hairs to call them children. But the idea of this stage for a lot of people starts to get a wound when you were told no when you wanted to do something. And that part of you basically said, flip you, I'm going to do it regardless. But something above that or something above you, i.e. a parent, God, whatever the thing is going to be, repressed you and held you down and matted your chest down in a really tight diaphragmatic position. You've got to go back to that moment and encourage yourself to do the thing regardless of the consequences. Again, it already happened. You can't do it. But you can go in because that part of you is still there. And you can say, I'm the parent now. The other parent is gone. The other power is gone. I'm giving you permission. You can do this. And you got to accept the consequences of whatever that happens. That's the only way you learn at this age. You cannot over-parent teenagers. You just can't. So, last thing I'm going to say about this. Our parents should have been stellar at every single one of these stages. They probably weren't. You know why? Because their parents weren't. Which means that you were parented poorly. Are you going to complain about that the rest of your life? Or are you going to realize, wow, you know what? Even though it wasn't my fault that this happened, it is my responsibility to be the parent to my 3 inner children that are constantly causing me problems in life. You have to act like your own parent to get through this stuff. And if you need to watch this video over again or just take a screenshot of this side of things, try this stuff out. I know it sounds woo-woo and silly and spiritual and stuff, but I promise you it will help at the very least. If you need more help on this, I do have a course on my website called Healing Emotions. It's a whole series of exercises that you can actually go through, some movements, some stretches, some breathing exercises that will start to work on a lot of these stages of things, these negative issues that we talked about here. Kind of a break class in case of emergency sort of thing, if you will. They're easy, they're quick, they're fully understandable in about a couple of hours. You can do this stuff within 5 minutes when you really need to. But that's it for this video. I hope this information is very helpful to you guys. As always, have a happy and healthy rest of your day.